Hi everyone, we've moved on from discussing the general provisions of the Employment Rights Bill to focusing on consultations which have been launched by government. The topic we're going to focus on this week is 0 hours contracts measures in the Employment Rights Bill, but specifically their application to agency workers. And I think this is a very interesting consultation to progress because it could fundamentally change the relationship between the employment agency on the one hand and end user clients on the other in relation to their responsibilities for the agency worker provided in between. So the general measures on 0 hours contracts look at guaranteed hours after an employee has worked for a particular period of time. I didn't expect that the bill would actually make this applicable to agency workers as well, because the very nature of that relationship is such that flexibility is required, and that there is the beauty of the relationship is that an employer can use agency workers to meet fluctuating demands. And of course, it's the agency worker's choice whether to try and gain permanent employment or become a flexible agency worker. Nevertheless, it looks like the bill will apply to agency workers. And the first question is, if a worker has to be guaranteed hours after a qualifying period, suggested at 12 weeks, whose responsibility is it to provide those hours? If that falls on the employment agency, that would be very difficult to fulfill because they have no control over what hours the hirer wants to provide, and they may simply not be able to provide those hours to the individual. The second option is for hirers to be responsible for offering guaranteed hours to an agency worker. That could be problematic if the agency worker works for multiple hirers and the hours offered overlap with another business that they are engaged in. And it could well change the nature of the relationship with the agency worker. So if the end user client is having to guarantee certain hours to an individual, that starts to point more towards an employment relationship rather than a much more flexible tripartite agency relationship. The next question then is if the end user client is obliged to offer guaranteed hours, is there a transfer fee payable to the agency or an extended period of hire if that individual is going to perhaps become an employee as a result of the guaranteed hours which have to be provided? The second main aspect of the consultation is around the reasonable notice of shifts and a right to compensation if a shift is cancelled, moved or ended early. Again, where should the liability fall if that happens? One of the suggestions is that both agency and end user, hirer or client, should be responsible. But again, it's not really within the agency's power to have control over when a shift is cancelled or moved. My suggestion will be that the outcome of the consultation should be that the hirer is responsible because they ultimately will be making the decision to cancel those shifts. Very interesting consultation around this, and I do think that it's incredibly important for employment agencies because the entire relationship could change from being one that is or has been extremely flexible in the past to one which creates so much certainty potentially that this becomes an employment relationship. So we'll report back on the consultation outcome in due course. If you need anything in the meantime, please get in touch. Visit the website chadwicklawrence.co.uk or email employmenthub@chadlaw.co.uk. Thank you.